Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. It is episode 1 of 2026. It's podcast 850, January 1st. As we record this, I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Josh Walrath in 850. It isn't that the AMD chipset for the more mid-range, and we can talk about motherboards later.
It might be 850, Josh.
It might be.
We wouldn't do this if you didn't demand it. I'm Brett Van Spernberg.
Happy New Year. 2025 was terrible, but we're hoping here at PCPer that 2026 is going to be a good year because the human spirit is a hard thing to kill, even with a chainsaw. I'm Kent Burgess.
I'm here to predict right now that 2026 will be worse. But hey, I admire your spirit
and his
indomitable spirit.
Here's what's going to happen. Like around June, OpenAI, they're going to start doing some of their stuff in their books, and we're going to see how big of a failure they are. And then suddenly everything in the PC world is going to get exceptionally cheap because it's going to be fire sale time.
Speaking of money, let's talk about Patreon. Now, you know that PC Perspective loves you, and you love us too, according to Patreon statistics.
Yes.
There are thousands of you around the world throwing money at us constantly, demanding that we podcast and review things. That could be an exaggeration. I don't know the exact figures at this time. But You know what? If you miss Josh, then maybe you contribute to bring him back.
Right?
Is that what this means?
Some of the money being thrown at us jingles. Not all of it folds. So some of it hurts when it gets thrown at us. But we pick up the change as well. But some people did miss Josh. That is true.
So this is where you start singing, so call this number on the telephone.
Indeed.
To get your subscription to PC Perspective. If only we had a 1-800 number that you could suddenly just appear at the bottom.
If only we had a food segment to transition to, right, Josh?
We don't, because I haven't eaten food. No, a couple of weeks ago, I actually went to Smash Burger, and I think I took a picture, but I forgot to post that. And I haven't, just for the holidays, I haven't had my usual kind of born in a barn or anything interesting.
I know. I went and looked, and I couldn't find anything of interest on the artist formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah. Maybe next week.
Speaking of maybe next week could be a good time to buy a graphics card before prices get even higher than they already are, because we did see something of a return to normalcy, a little bit of a return to MSRP and even below at times in 2025. But the elusive RTX 5090 at $1999 US, it's almost impossible to find, and it's going to get worse. I saw a report, something to the effect of it's going up to $5,000 this year.
Yeah.
And not necessarily officially, but in reality, and it's already approaching $4,000 right now.
Yep.
There were reports out there, I think it was WCCF Tech, that had some rumor about it being $5,000 this year. But in any case, it's going to be a lot more expensive than it already was. And
it's $1 a digit. $1 a digit.
Hey, that's a good point.
Right in front of the part number.
Well, we've already seen in December the RTX 5070. I think it hit sub $499 a couple of times on sales, and now the least expensive one you can find is like $550. So even those are climbing up, and I think it's going to get kind of worse across the board. AMD stuff is not yet. You can still get some good prices on those. So, but even those, I guess they have. We hit the $599, and now we're looking at $629 as the lowest. So yeah, they're slowly but surely going north. So get it while you can.
Rising memory prices, Josh. It's I think it's related to the artificial intelligence infrastructure.
Maybe
somehow. And another thing that you need when you're putting together a high-end data center Storage, oddly enough, large, fast storage has never been more expensive. We're talking about 50% increases just since October. We saw that with DDR5. There's been obviously a lot of talk about that, but I have been looking at some price history over at PC Part Picker, and it's disturbing. I posted a couple images to our chat the other day, and it's up a lot. Now, this article here at Tom's Hardware is talking about 8 terabyte drives being $2,400, but even smaller drives are up significantly. Here is, they talked about a drive that was $62, now listed for $220. That's not uncommon. There's nothing out there in the 2 terabyte high performance realm anywhere near that 10 cents a gig that we were enjoying just a couple of months ago, it seems.
Yeah, I was actually have been monitoring Newegg for deals and things, and they listed of 16 gigs of Viper DDR5 for $150 today as one of their specials. Now, the important thing of this is that it was one stick. I have never seen a single stick of DDR5 sell before. It's always been at least 2 stick kits. If you're selling 1 stick of DDR5, something's awful is happening. The prices of 5090s have shot through the roof over the last couple of weeks. There were some available in the low 2000 range really 3 weeks ago. Nothing under $3,000 now. Nothing under $3,000. And as Josh said, the lower end cards, same thing. They were down at reasonable prices, but they're all back up over MSRP, sometimes well over MSRP now.
There are some valuable promo codes out there, Kent. I mean, you could save more. This is a Corsair kit for $427.99, but there is an enticing promo code offer, which I'm sure takes at least another $10 off the price. It doesn't even say. It just says save even more with promo code, whatever it is.
Oh, indicating that the 427 is already some savings are baked into that number.
Yeah. It continues to be shocking and alarming. There was a time in the recent past where you could still buy a 32 gigabyte kit of DDR5 for about $299, but I don't think that exists anymore. It's like $350 and up, unless you want really slow, really high latency stuff, and that might only be like $319. Sort by lowest price here.
Yeah, to get some of the lower, to get some lower prices, you have to go off brand from what you usually do. So no Corsair, no G-Skill, no,
You got green stick.
Apparently,
you got green stick, man.
I did in stock lowest price first at Newegg, and the first option is a stick of OEM. This looks like Micron stuff. 5600 CL46 for $285.97. The first
refurbished.
Yeah, that's refurbished. And then you get into, let's see, where's an actual pair of DIMMs? Here we go. V-Color Manta X Sky, $339.99. That's the first kit. That's the lowest price kit. CL36 is pretty good.
Yeah, but CL30.
Ooh, look at that.
For the 6000. There you go.
We're just starting to get used to it. Oh, $339. That's not that bad. And look at CL30.
This is like the introduction of DDR4 back in the day. Remember how expensive that was?
Yeah.
Next, and this is actually good news if you don't like spending $339 for your memory, ASUS is said to be increasing production of certain AM4 and LGA 1700 motherboards with DDR4 memory support. This is a report over at videocards.com. And more output of these boards in Q1 2026. That can only be a good thing. B550 boards, B760M. There's some lower end variants of both AM4 and 1700, but this is what you want. Reasonably modern processors on DDR4. Forget about DDR5, unless you already have some, unless you're one of those elites. But if you're not, then DDR4 is the way, the one true way. Though it is still more expensive than it was in October.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere near
what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a recent Go ahead, Brett.
Thank you. One of the other nice things about moving to AM4 or moving back to AM4 or making a new AM4 build is that some of the cooling solutions are less expensive because they're sort of out of vogue right now. So the price dropped on those. They're like perhaps many of them are leftovers, weren't selling very well. So cooling pricing might actually be slightly better, like AIOs. Take a look there for a little bit of savings.
Yeah, and DDR4 is a little bit more available, and you can get probably a ton of it on eBay these days. People who did eventually go to DDR5. Also, we've seen a rash of articles comparing like the 5800X3D to the 7800X3D and the 9800X3D, and it still is not that far away in terms of overall performance, though unfortunately AMD stopped producing that particular one, and I think you can still pick that up on eBay for like $400. The economics of that is not fantastic, but there's talk about the 5600X3D and the 5500X3D that they're kind of slowly leaking out there. It's still a viable platform. I mean, you don't get the PCI 5.0, but if you really need to upgrade, and it is certainly an option, and it's better than running something 10 years old. So
yeah,
it's the world we live in.
Yeah, some of the stuff on Newegg here, I've never heard of some of these brands like Time Tech. I imagine they're just taking ICs and like Nemix. So who knows where the memory's coming from, if it's old Hynix chips or what they're harvesting. But then there's like Gigastone. We are talking $160 shipped for a brand new 32 gigabyte kit.
That's 16 gigs.
Oh, that's only 16? I specifically said 32 gigs in the search results. Okay. Whoa, has DDR4 climbed that much? This Nemix
Holy crap,
that's 62.
That is as much per gig.
2 by 16.
Okay, that's 32.
Okay, here's some
that one's
Patriot
2 by
Viper,
16.
$173. It's creeping up there, though. It wasn't that long ago.
It is.
I was pulling this up for one of our podcasts, and it was like 140, 1 to 150, I think, for 32 gigs.
Yeah.
These are a lot of... Here we go. Here's a name brand, Corsair, and here's some G-Skill. $180 a kit for 32 gigs, and that's only $26.66. This one's 32. Okay. You want 3600 though if you're on AMD. Oh, here was okay.
There you go.
180 for that too. So yeah, it's gone up. It's gone up $100 since October for some of these kits. 2026. Get excited, people, for a wonderful year. Where even DDR4.
I saw the 5800 XT has actually gone up a little bit from where it had been. It's in like the mid 200s now, I think.
Isn't that the number one?
And it was under 200 for a bit.
Isn't that the new number one DIY processor on Amazon now? The 5800 XT?
Probably.
Or 5800
Yeah, it's $216. That's still a good deal, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from depressing talk about unaffordable hardware and talk about something interesting that happened in the software world. GOG, which used to be Good Old Games and then just became GOG all caps, and it's part of CD Projekt. Well, the co-founder of CD Projekt, Michael, I don't know how to pronounce this, Chisinski,
I think that's right,
has acquired GOG from CD Projekt. So he was major shareholder already, now has 100% of the shares, I guess, and vows to continue DRM-free games. So I guess that's nothing to worry about. It's just changing ownership. I don't know why.
I've seen a couple of articles about this, and CD Projekt's game studio has been wanting to focus more on the game development. And one of the things that, as an example of this is their move on Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk 2 from Red Engine to Unreal 5. Because, and they've said this in a number of different interviews, they want to develop games, not engines. And I think that this is just sort of a way of splitting up so that the game studios can focus on the games, and then GOG is sort of a separate entity. But they have said, both parties have said that GOG will still be, an official platform for the CDPR games. So that's good. But yeah, it's just a way to separate things out so the main CDPR can just focus on development of the games themselves.
How do you feel about the move to UE5?
I can't say that it's a mistake, but it's not exactly anybody's favorite engine, I think. It seemed like a great idea when it came out, but there's just way too many performance issues with it. Lots of stuttering, lots of skipping. Doesn't matter what kind of hardware you're on.
It is amazing. I have had equally dreadful performance at times trying to put together systems for my wife and son who got into Fortnite a year ago. And I had an Intel system going, I had an AMD system going, and was comparing the two of them. And I'd watch the frame rates drop to single digits at random times on both of them. And I still chase random UE5 lockups on my son's AMD system. I have no idea what's going on there. I keep on reinstalling stuff and changing out components. But yeah, it's like, it's really nice looking, but I have not seen strong, consistent performance, at least from that title. And who knows, maybe Fortnite's just a mess.
A little bit.
There's some stuff to be said, and it's not just Unreal 5. I actually just recently gotten a desire to play Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order again, which is an Unreal 4 game. And, I'm installing this on a system with a 13900KS and a 4090, and I've got stuttering. Not horrible, but just every now and then it's like, I've panned the camera or something and there's just this frame rate drop and it's visible. It's like, this game's 6 years old. It should not be stuttering on this hardware.
I think that there is a tremendous amount of individual game optimization that needs to occur with UE5 and probably UE4 as well. I remember a couple of years ago, EA and Codemasters put out the EA WRC, and the first iteration of that was based on UE4. It would have the random stutters, it would have the random drop-offs, and then they, probably a year after development, it's pretty smooth. But the new AC, Assetto Corsa Rally, which was released in early access last November, I believe. It's a shockingly smooth experience for being UE5. I mean, it looks fantastic, but I think that they probably were very selective about what features they use instead of just throwing the entire kitchen sink at this engine and hoping that it doesn't bend and fold over it all. But still, I think it just still takes a tremendous amount of optimization by the individual studios. And the way studios are kind of going, it doesn't seem to be very popular because it's very man-hour intensive.
Some amazing news to ring in the new year. Maxon, everyone's favorite provider of CPU benchmarks, found in reviews around the world, and at various times either considered a great or a completely unrealistic benchmark by PR people at unnamed CPU companies who weren't winning anymore. Cinebench has reached 2026. It has so much support added, the latest NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, Apple Silicon. Get ready for exciting tests of comparing some proprietary Apple system to a DIY PC. And you can see why. Actually, I'd be very curious to see how Apple does.
Very, very curious.
But let's compare.
If only someone here had Apple hardware that they could test this on.
Actually, I think I have an M3 Max. I don't believe I have an M4.
You think you have an M3 Max?
I think it's the Max.
I would have an M3 Max laying around, just the chip. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
I have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, the one nice thing about Cinebench is if you really want to stress test your CPU, that's just have that run that over and over and over and over again, and you will heat that thing up like nobody's business. So yeah, it's a great CPU specific stress test.
It's not Prime 95, but it still will draw some power. Blender actually is even more of a power hog. I did the Blender classroom render, and that thing draws even more. Sorry, Kent.
No, I was just going to say the last batch of CPU cooler tests I did, I actually ran into a problem using Cinebench like that, because when the test would complete, in between the end of the previous loop and the new loop, the temperatures would spike because the CPU wasn't doing anything, but the voltages would still be high. And so the temperatures would actually stay sort of in this manageable range during the actual rendering. But then when the rendering stopped, the temperatures would just spike. And I ended up moving to a Blender test. Because it gave a constant load that didn't stop during and cause that same problem, because I couldn't get an accurate measure of what the coolers were doing.
And I'm tempted to say, oh, it sounds like an Intel issue, but I think you're using Ryzen for some of those tests, right?
No, this was a 12900KS that I was testing.
Then I just blame Intel then. It sounds like an Intel problem.
Oh, okay.
But my voltages were out of control for no apparent reason. Oh, you must be on an Intel platform. Okay. It wasn't even doing any work, and the voltages were high.
Well, no, I had so the way I was testing is I was limiting each cooler to a certain number of volts to see what they could manage. And I think the max or certain number of watts, I should say, up to 250 watts, because these were all air coolers. So yeah, it was just it was very strange. It could have been an Intel issue. I didn't have a Ryzen CPU at the time I could test it against to see that.
Well, it's rather bigoted of you to not include the other major category of CPUs. Your preferences are showing, and that's a very privileged position to take.
Oh, you're talking about ARM, I assume.
Oh, by the way, it's some good news, actually. I saw this story at Phoronix the other day. D7 VK 1.1 has been released. It has experimental Direct 3D 6. Now, this offers on your Linux box Proton, VK D3D projects, good support for Direct 3D 8 through DirectX 3D 12 implementations atop the Vulkan API for Linux gaming usage, says Phoronix here in this article. So for retro gaming, they have Direct 3D 7 support as well, and now experimental Direct 3D 6. So think about some of those classic 3D titles that could potentially be played. And these are titles you can't even get running on a modern Windows system without running some sort of emulation.
Is that like, Thief, the Dark Project? Wasn't that a D3D6 game? Because I'm pretty sure System Shock 2 was Direct 3D7.
Oh, yes. Night Dive Studios.
Tappity, tappity, tappity. I'm on a membrane keyboard. You can't hear me. Blah, 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 blah.
I am looking up Direct 3D6 games right now. Here's an alphabetical list of games on D3D6. Look at that: Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun, Crusaders of Might and Magic, Descent, Diablo 2.
Hey, I think I have F-22 Lightning 3 somewhere. I know I had Lightning 2, but...
Oh, the original Half-Life.
Heavy Gear 2, yeah.
Lands of Lore 3, Legacy of King's
Warrior
Soldier,
3.
Planescape Torment.
The old is that Qbert? Yeah, the old Qbert.
Resident Evil 2 and 3.
RE2, RE3.
Ooh, Scrabble CD-ROM edition.
System Shock 2 was.
I see it there.
Was
Ooh, Star Trek
DX6.
The Federation is on there. So some good games. There's some good games on this list.
Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate Tales of the Sword Coast. Those are great.
Now, some of these I know, but we're already working on Linux anyway, and some of them work with different APIs, I think, because I know Planescape Torment has been running on Linux for a long time through GOG, maybe. But yeah, there's just more support. It's always good to have more easy support for vintage 3D games, because that's really where things get tough. You can emulate DOS on almost anything now, but once you get into early 3D, there's a lot of stuff that just won't even run. I jumped through hoops, and I've actually managed to get the original versions of Warcraft 3 and Age of Empires 2, not the reforged or, remastered versions or anything, the originals with my CD-ROMs, working on a Windows 11 box by just running different compatibility modes and installing some legacy support stuff. But not everything works perfectly, and there are certain games that I can't get to run at all, like Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit. Cannot get it to run. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and it's very frustrating. Like Windows XP box with the same hardware would be ideal, but there's just a lot of stuff that you can't run an old operating system on. So,
wasn't Direct3D 3.0 kind of like the first big major release? They had 1.0 and 2.0, but they were really not fit for. It's what Alex St. John was the guy behind that at Microsoft, and. But I remember DX5 was a big jump, and then when DX6 came out, that was when it really hit the mainstream with really good support, and it just worked. And that's where everybody started getting away from OpenGL, because at that time OpenGL was just a pain in the ass to code for, and only masochists like John Carmack and the gang would continue to do that. And people wanted to develop for the PlayStation.
Finally, Jeremy, who is not here, had posted just before Christmas a guide to buying a dumb TV. And I think it was the last time we podcasted that I was complaining about LG.
Oh, yeah.
And forcing users into a Microsoft Copilot install that couldn't be removed. And of course, after we podcasted, there was so much pushback that they did allow users to remove it after all. So that's good. But there's an article at Ars Technica. It's a guide to how to break free from smart TV ads and tracking.
Surprisingly enough, one of their suggestions is the Apple TV box. That is the best recommendation. They're not monetizing it using ads.
They are not. And if you like Apple, you probably already have one. If you don't like Apple, hear me out. We have one of these. It is great because you get the same kind of software support that you would get on an iPad, but in a living room box that works very well. The dictation, the Siri dictation, is fantastic. So I've never typed a search for a YouTube video in the years we've had one of these things. It's like, I'll just say like, hey, PC Perspective Podcast, and it just comes right up. So the other great thing is I can have my TV completely disconnected from the internet. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no Ethernet cable to the TV. It's only the Apple TV. Your TV should be a dumb monitor. Unless there's something seriously wrong with it, like it was supposed to have HDR support, HDR10 or Dolby, and it didn't, and then there's a firmware update that allows it to do something. But for the most part, don't update your TV, because it's just adding nefarious things that you don't need.
The article does mention there are a couple of manufacturers still making the coveted dumb television. Emerson being one. Remember Emerson from back in the day? And Westinghouse is another one.
But at what cost?
Not the Samsung or the LG, I admit, but they are manufacturing them.
The world of professional monitors that are not dumb, like I think it was a Cathode Ray dude who had a thing about digital signage screens and the kind of TVs you have in lobbies that are just on all the time. Those from companies like NEC, they're tremendously expensive because they have much higher life expectancy, like the MT.
Mean time between failure.
Yeah,
MTBF.
it's so much higher, and they're rated for longer life for the backlights and stuff. So you're paying way more than you would for a consumer TV. Just buy a consumer TV, but never connected to the internet. I have found workarounds on LG and Samsung TVs. I have a Samsung right now where you can go into the menus and set it so that it turns on automatically to the last input. And I created one input, which is my receiver. So every time I turn on the TV, it just goes right back to the receiver, and it doesn't bring me the home hub, and it's not connected to the internet. So it never
I did the same thing. Only goes to the receiver.
So yes, there is hope for a dumb TV in 2026. Let us pause here for a word from this week's podcast sponsor.
Welcome to your new year and probably a new budget. It's time to tame your miscellaneous category. Copilot Money is the personal finance app that brings all your accounts into one place so you can actually see what's happening with your money without living in spreadsheets. It pulls in all your transactions, balances, and even investments and net worth, then uses smart automation to categorize spending and surface the, wait, we pay how much for that? You can customize categories and rules, track budgets over time, and keep an eye on cash flow so surprises don't sneak up on you. Copilot Money is also great at finding the quiet money leaks. It tracks subscriptions and upcoming recurring bills so renewals don't jump scare your bank account. And you can set flexible savings goals with progress tracking, which is weirdly motivating in the best possible way. One of my favorite parts is how fast it gets useful. Once your accounts are connected, you're not just staring at the numbers, you're getting a real picture of your spending patterns and what's worth tweaking. It's also privacy first. Copilot Money never sells your data, and it works across iPhone, iPad, Mac, and now from anywhere via the web with one subscription, and has garnered over 20,000 five-star reviews. Oh, if you want the quick and easy install path, yeah, you'll find it in the App Store too. Plus, there's a 1-month free trial, and support is done by real humans. Start the new year with clarity. For limited time, get 26% off your first year when you sign up at copilot.money. New users only, and for the web. Try it now at try.copilot.money/PCPer. That's try.copilot.money/PCPer.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
Ready?
From Bleeping Computer,
Yeah.
Zoom Stealer browser extensions harvest corporate meeting intelligence.
Oh, yeah. This one has been around a while. Well, there's all these different extensions. They've found 18 of them that are collecting online meeting-related data, like the URL for the meeting, the specific call-in IDs, what topics are being discussed, the descriptions for the meeting, and what the embedded passwords are to get on those. And then they're funneling this data back to China-linked actors, threat actors that are collecting this information, the metadata around the meeting, or even finding ways to attend the meeting, or maybe even impersonate people who attended the meeting in order to gather or further information, do a little bit of social engineering. And this is 18 browser extensions that have been sort of wedged in this way. But they are taking on, I think it's like 28 different video conferencing apps that they've managed to glom this information out of and sending it all back to China. It is very sad. I would recommend that to people who are running these meetings, make sure that your attendees don't have any of these at least 18 identified apps or extensions in anybody's browser, because this is kind of bad news. Meeting URLs, passwords, all the raw data about the meeting being sent to your competitors. Imagine that.
Sticking with Bleeping Computer, hacker arrested for KMS Auto malware campaign with 2.8 million downloads.
Right. We have finally tracked down the Lithuanian national for his involvement in infecting only 2.8 million systems with a clipboard stealing malware. Okay. It's this KMS Auto tool for, would you believe, illegally, I use the word loosely, activating Windows and Office software. So if there weren't so many people who were looking for a way around Windows and Office activations, this wouldn't be as big a problem as it is. So, stop infecting yourself, please. Anyway, this is the way this guy was extradited to South Korea and is facing some serious charges. So it was basically a single person who was able to put this malware out there and infect 2.8 million systems. And I went in and gathered all kinds of crypto wallet information and sent that back to what it was doing is hacking the user's clipboard, looking for cryptocurrency IDs and substituting destinations of their own devising, so that instead of the transfer that you meant to do as you were cutting and pasting the cryptocurrency to and from, it would substitute their own. So you would essentially transfer that crypto into their account instead of the target one that you're looking for, because it was altering the clipboard data as it passed through the system. Yes, fiendishly clever. I think they managed to get billions or maybe several $1 million, but yeah, bad news.
If only Microsoft would make Office and Windows so cheap that it wouldn't be worth the risk of pirating it.
Apparently, it's still worth the risk.
Yeah, and I would say a large percentage of people around the globe running Windows and Office are not paying for it.
All that close attention either, and they're just clicking on "Give it to me for free."
Yeah.
Stop infecting yourself.
It is time now for one of those weird stories it's still Insecurity Corner, but it's going to bridge the gap between Insecurity Corner and Gaming Quick Hits, because
it's a nice segue.
We're talking about the massive Rainbow Six Siege breach, which gave players billions of credits and other things happened.
Every cosmetic item in the game, massive, as you said, in-currency game credits, allowed them to ban players or unban players, just unlock everything in the game. It has basically ruined it. I think the servers are still shut down currently right now, but it is very bad news for Ubisoft, who are desperately trying to fix this and kind of to roll back everything. And I don't know how they're going to. Can you just do a restore to do this before we broke? But they've got to fix this first. So there's an unauthenticated remote flaw in the system.
Did you notice scroll back up?
Yeah.
To read the first word of each of the band.
What else are they hiding from us? Yes.
That is genius.
I'm not sure that they even noticed that when they grabbed that screenshot. Anyway, Ubisoft is on it. They're trying to fix this. I'm not sure if they're going to get a clean exit on this one. This one seems like it hurt.
Yeah, Ubisoft has not been feeding themselves in glory lately.
No. This seems like a very significant self-inflicted wound for them not to have closed this this exploitable hole.
Well, let's do another gaming story as we shift to Gaming Quick Hits. A couple of them this week. Here's a story about Total War, which is totally going Warhammer 40K. And this sounds so much like Jeremy's wheelhouse. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Warhammer.
I don't really know what his reference here was, but I think it has something to do with the mapping and the provincing and the economy, moving to Warhammer mode. I didn't know he wasn't going to be here to talk about this one, so I apologize for not being. I don't know enough about.
Also,
this one,
the story is from December 11, so it
is a little old.
Total War Warhammer fans, we are perplexed by this story. 40K, Total War Warhammer 40,000 reveal likely after Telltale word 40K spotted in Creative Assembly video. Okay, yes, this is deep down the rabbit hole. There's some assets that were located. They think it is pointing to something, and I'm sure we will hear more about this from Jeremy at a future date.
He's really the only one that can take us along on the deep dive ride.
Yeah.
So Total Wars are, I mean, I'm familiar with the games, right? I mean, they're the big strategic, large scale battles that you have. And did they previously do a 40K co-op? Because 40K has typically been by themselves. So if Total War, I don't know.
The next story also from Rock Paper Shotgun, which means it was provided by Jeremy. Again, not here this week. But this is interesting because there is Larian says Gen AI users Larian forced to build Divinity around RAM shortage caused by Gen AI. So the studio that likes to use generative AI in their games is now having to optimize around the fact that people don't have any RAM because it's too expensive. Which is,
I think this is
poetic
indicative
justice.
of like systems are going to be slightly less capable than the curve we were on, and
So
a
are you
lot of the
suggesting
expectation.
the reality
Okay.
of the 8 gigabyte laptop in 2026?
I am, and all that
Okay.
entails, and let's just work our way outward from there, and just make assumptions along the lines of the PCs that we're building today. We're maybe hitting a bit of a plateau, or the curve that we were on. The growth is just not going to be there in performance, as we're going to kind of tail off a little bit because we can't afford it, or it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, Kinjara in the chat. This is perfect. Wasn't the fact that they weren't planning on optimizing early in the dev cycle and now they have to? Yeah.
Oh, there's that.
Literally
Yes.
quoting, we didn't necessarily want to do these low memory optimizations. So now they're having to go through and actually, work to make the game run smoothly without
we
just
would
saying,
have
"Throw
preferred
more RAM at the problem."
Sloppy coding and poor optimization, and just let it. We'll pick it up on the
memory's gonna
back
be
end
cheap.
with more resources.
Right.
With more resources, more RAM, more cycles.
There was a
CPU,
time,
GPU cycles.
throw your mind back to October, early to mid-October of 2025, when 64 gigabytes of RAM was just this ho-hum. I mean, there's a 96 gig kit I was looking at, but the 64 gig kit is a little cheaper. It was all under $200, and 32 gigs of RAM was like $89 for fast, low latency DDR5. And now, obviously, it's just unobtainable. And you can't just say, "Oh, new system
It's very
requirements,
sad.
just get 64 gigs to make it run smoothly."
You know what this story reminds me of? Back in the day, I don't know if familiar with this, but the John Hancock building in Boston, when it was first built, there was a lot of controversy around it because every once in a while, some of their windows would just blow out and they would fall some 70 stories down onto the street. And nobody was ever killed, but it was a big deal. And so you'd see this brand new shining building and it had plywood boards all over all these areas because these windows blowing out. And so, first John Hancock went to the engineers who designed this, and the engineers were like, our stuff is fine. You need to go with the window people who installed this. And John Hancock went to the window people, and they denied it was their problem. And so John Hancock sued them and took them to court. And guess who insured the window people?
John Hancock.
John Hancock.
John Hancock. So
Shouldn't have put their
Very
signature
similar.
on that one.
no, they should not have.
You know what time it is?
I do.
It's time for Picks of the Week already.
Picks of the
This is a
Week.
shorter show. We have fewer people, and it always seems to go faster. Plus, we're podcasting on a national holiday. So it was destined, I think, to be a slightly shorter show. But Josh, you didn't have a burger. Do you at least have a pick?
I sure did. So I was a little shocked when I saw this one come up on the Shell Shocker today. It's only going to last for a certain amount of time, but it's kind of where things are going. And so the PC people, they have margins built into different ones of their products, right? And they want to keep selling these to people. And so the big thing is hey, if I'm going to build a new PC, but I'm paying 100% more for the memory or even more than that, where can I save some money? So it looks like AMD and its partners have built quite a bit of margin into their top-end motherboards. If you look at this one, it's the ASUS TUF Gaming X870E Plus, which 2 months ago was a $360 piece of equipment. And now you can get it with the $10 off promo for $249. This is where usually the X870, non-E was, and now those have been pushed down even further. And so we can see that probably motherboard sales have, especially for DDR5 support, have just dropped off a cliff, and they need to start selling these. So they've cut these prices dramatically. So I've been using this board in the new test machine. And ASUS had sent a bunch of parts, and I'm still doing some testing and writing up on all that stuff, and it's been a fantastic motherboard. Really expandable and got all kinds of great features, and it's got the kitchen sink thrown in because it's an 870E. So yeah, you can actually save some money on some motherboards. $100 off kind of helps ease the pain of getting memory for it.
Nothing can really ease that pain, but at least we can ignore
Ease the pain.
Jeremy, your pick this week. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Brett, your pick this week.
I'm going to start with something that I just liked to see. The Unix version 4 source was finally recovered, the kernel, and all the things that went with it. It's the first kernel that had thousands and thousands of lines written in that fancy, new, up-and-coming C language by Ken and Ritchie. We all remember Ken and Ritchie. This is why the internet does what it does. Linux/Unix. That's the reason.
Wasn't it?
So we do have something
tape backup just randomly.
It was. They had to work up some old tape drives to get it readable again. They had to recover it and decompress it. It was actually sort of an interesting story behind it. I just like the fact that it was recovered. I think it's actually pretty cool.
That's nice,
historically speaking. Now, from sorry, Kent, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so since it was the first, does that mean it's the kernel's original recipe?
Using the C as seasoning. Yes. Using the seasoning. Seasoning.
Nice.
Now, just to keeping with the go buy something, if you will, since Stranger Things has just recently gone season 5 off the air, go read a book. If you like the universe per se, go read a book. I put a link in there. Here's one. Stranger Things, one way or another. It's a story that wasn't told by the television series. And there's a fair number of these that are sort of stories kind of occurring within or around or just expanding on some of the characters' backstory. If you're still interested in continuing the story now that it's off the air, go read a book. Or maybe if you really got some dollars burning a hole in your pocket, go see the Broadway play, which is sort of a precursor to the whole story. Go do
that. Kent, did you have a pick this week?
I do not have a pick this week. Okay. I'm playing the role of Brett this week and not having a pick.
Well, it's me who never has a pick. Brett always has a pick. Wait, no, Bront usually has a pick. Okay, I have a pick, and I'm stealing it from Josh. I was surprised he didn't pick this, so I'm going to. He was on X.com talking about Micro Center DDR5 bundles. I follow Josh on X, so I saw this post.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm glad that I could steal it from you. So if you search DDR5 bundle on Micro Center's website, you will find surprisingly good deals. Now, please ignore these where it's a single stick that's just too depressing. But for example, you can put together a little bundle for yourself with a 9800X3D and a board to put it in and 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 for $679.99, which is compared to the regular retail in 2026 of $950.97. That's a pretty good savings. It's in-store only, of course. There's a ton of these bundles. You can save money and just get this 7800X3D.
Ooh, that 7800X3D looks like a really great deal.
I would get this because the difference in the performance between the 9800 and 7800X3D, if you're playing at high resolutions, is minimal.
Would you say less than 10%?
Far less than 10%.
Like 5%.
It's like 20% at 1080, low, but it's significantly less the higher you go. There's some interesting bundles here, but definitely if you made it your New Year's resolution to put together an AM5 system in spite of the high cost of DDR5, and you have a Micro Center within driving distance, you will not get a better price at retail for this stuff.
That's astounding. I didn't think we'd see any pricing like that again for some time.
I think it's the only way they can move motherboards right now.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, they're all like 650E.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Low-end motherboards, and you're
There's nothing that says they won't work, though, Josh. They should.
Well, they're going to work perfectly fine.
Just fine.
You just won't have Wi-Fi 7 or USB 4.0. but
There
they're gonna be
was,
fine.
It's fine.
I did see on that list, there was an X870E board, and I think it was about $730 for the kit. I think it's up from,
I don't know. Here's one that's only $650.
oh, that's an 870E right there. Yeah.
$870E. Does this one have 32 gigs? Yeah, 32 gigs of DDR5 6000.
With a
And
9900X.
Ryzen 9.
It's just, there's nothing wrong with this at all. For
Cast
$649.
36 is about the only.
It could be ready for me by 10 a.m. tomorrow if I drove to Chicago, which is only like 2.5 hours away from my house.
I'm gonna go.
Wait,
I'm gonna go pick this one up.
Which
in
one's
Fairfax.
closer to you, Detroit or Chicago?
They're equidistant.
Oh,
I live in Kalamazoo, which is this former like hub way back in the day because it was equidistant between Detroit and Chicago. And the Checker cab was made here and it was shipped to both big cities. Gibson Guitar was headquartered here, so it was a hub. It was a mecca. Yeah, Shakespeare. You may have heard of them for rods and reels. The Shakespeare Reel Company.
and then you were born, and everything went downhill.
Yeah, and then Gibson moved to Nashville, and yeah, people just left. I didn't smell that bad, but I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. It still seems that a lot of the new bundles, the pre-builts, are still reasonably priced. So they of course they bought this RAM for those things 6 to 9 months ago. But we'll probably see over the next 6 months those things will be going up. But again, do your math, check out the prices, and sometimes getting a pre-built will be a whole lot better. But yeah, if you've got a Micro Center, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, in the pre-built world, I always like to compare like Falcon Northwest versus Dell just to see where things are, like system integrator versus OEM. And right now, or at least the last time I looked a couple weeks ago, Alienware desktops with subsidies and discounts were pretty compelling as far as the specs you could get, like a 5090, 32 gigs or 64 gigs actually of DDR5 and a fairly, one of the higher end CPUs. I don't remember which one. I think it was an Intel Core Ultra 9 actually. But that was like $5K. You won't even be able to buy the 5090 for any less than that soon. And Falcon Northwest continues to be this place where when you actually start configuring the system, you'll find that the hardware upgrades are basically just MSRP level. You can still get a 5090 or a 5080 Founders Edition card, and the amount it adds to your total is like, wow, this is basically NVIDIA's list pricing for this. So yeah, they start off kind of expensive. They're a boutique, high-end, like hand-built system, but you can start packing on the DDR5 and GPU upgrades, and it's not that much more than what we were paying in October for that stuff. Still depressing to see that the build that I was looking at that was like 6K as a reference is now like 7.5, but it's a luxury item at this point.
Mm-hmm.
High-end PCs, it's like sports cars. Not everybody can afford one. Not everybody needs one. Yeah, it's becoming a very expensive hobby.
Good pick though. Strong work.
Very good picks this week, and great podcast. I mean, this was literally our best podcast of the year so far, easily.
So far, fantastic show.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Jeremy for joining us,
especially Jeremy and his blues.
He'll probably be back next week, and
he was on a flight.
So will we.
Yeah, that lasted 24 hours. Yeah.
So thank you. Happy New Year. If it is a new year for you, you could be watching this in the future. Like you're watching this on a random April day in 2029. You're like,
yeah, could happen.
Talking about.
They're doing like a 12 Monkeys retrospective dig on podcasting of the era, looking for clues. That's probably what's happening.
Or this just gets scraped and there's some kind of generative video with subtitles that you're watching.
Yeah, they're like stringing our voices together.
It is sad to think that maybe 500 years in the future, there's going to be some postdoc going through hundreds of hours of podcasts and they have to watch this crap.
No,
Wow.
I'm proud.
And they
I
think,
think
wow, that Josh Wallace really wasn't.
not all
Noted.
the time. Some of the time. And I speak from
Class, what did
experience.
we learn?
I'm an a-hole sometimes too. We should probably stop podcasting before we say something we'll actually regret later. So good night,
True.
everyone. And
Thank you
have a
for
pleasant
joining us.
tomorrow.
Good night.
Happy New Year.